Blog Talk Radio.
May Day 2013. This is Boston Red for Boston Red on the World. It's our international edition. And this is the 1st of May, which is International Workers' Day. You just heard the Internationale, and after we are finished here, you'll hear a recap from Al Jazeera across Europe, from Spain to the heart of the beast in Germany. Austerity, austerity, austerity. To the Greek capital of Athens, austerity. To the American capital in Washington, D.C., austerity. They call it sequester, it's the same thing. Various demonstrations in various places in Cuba was dedicated to the late Comandante Hugo Chavez, who died earlier this year. And we'll hear from Comandante, the Presidente-elect of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and his inaugural address there. The struggle goes on, a very tightly contested election in Venezuela. The right is on the move. Power is being consolidated. Workers' rights are being eroded. The so-called middle class or middle strata is under continuous attacks across the EU, in Japan, and in various places. There is a worldwide problem, no doubt about it, and it's called demand. Production is down in countries that export, China, for example. So a new day has arisen. The day when the modern day capitalists could just build things and sell things is over. I can recall when the Soviet Union was at its glory days, people complained about the number of products, SKUs that were available, food products, in the market. Now in the Russian Republic there is enough brands for everyone. And because of riches from the ground, petroleum, the Russian Republic is in better shape than many others. But it looks to Brazil, it looks to China, it looks to India. The emerging markets, as they are called, are in much better shape than the old-line industrial nations. They can talk about it as they want, but with 20+% unemployment in Spain, Italy has very high unemployment, and the Mecca people, the Hands people in Germany, in the UK, under their Tory or right-wing government, austerity is there. They avoided a double-dip recession, they're calling it. Some would call it a depression, by less than 0.3 of a point. And in this dismal economic news out of the U.S., a little over 100,000 jobs were created there. So in other words, the news is not good in the capitalist sector. There are problems. And where are the solutions? They look to the austerity, but the austerity is not there. It is a continual story for the jobless and those that are, as one would say, held in the reserve line of the unemployed. Marx talked about it. 70% of the stock on the stock exchange were lower today than in the U.S. Quantitative easing will continue on. There's no doubt about that. There was 119,000 jobs in April. Private sector created, while many of the large corporations continued on, running amok across the capitalist world. So the workers are in a struggle. Workers in reorganization. At one time you had working people's organizations turned into armchair discussions circles. That is no longer the case. There are progressive groups out there. They are organizing and at different levels of organization. The problem that they face is, since monopoly capitalism has literally continued to consolidate, the monopoly media is there, and they can send a message across the globe. Murdoch is in Australia, he's in the UK. He's in the US with his Fox network and his various newspapers. That is an across-the-board global situation. So we need to look more to global ideas. The capitalists have theirs in things like the World Economic Forum, but there can be no economic productivity where there is no demand. So those of us that are working economists see this every day, and the solutions that are brought forth by most economists, think tanks, talking heads, pointed heads, and whatever, simply are not working. The models don't work as they used to, if they ever worked. The capitalists have less quote-unquote surplus value to give around. Thus the middle class is under attack. The buying power of the dollar, the yen, the euro is less than it used to be. And that will continue. Commodity prices are up. It is much harder for people to get the bowl of rice, the loaf of bread. So this is where we are on May Day. We'll go to Commandante Nicholas Mendres and the rest of the Internationale. This is Boston Red. For Boston Red on the World, happy May Day. And as the Poet Laureate in the U.S. city of Newark, New Jersey, one L.A. Bill Graham would say, peace out.
In Indonesia, central Jakarta went into virtual lockdown as tens of thousands gathered to protest against recent fuel price hikes. They also demanded better health care for workers. One of the world's biggest rallies was held in the Cuban capital, Havana. This year's march was dedicated to the late Venezuelan leader, Hugo Chavez. Hundreds of thousands turned out to celebrate and show their support for the ruling Communist Party. Well, it was a different story in Turkey, where riot police were called in to disperse crowds in Istanbul. Tear gas and water cannons were used on protesters as they tried to break through barricades to reach the city's main square. 6 people were hurt in the violence. And across Europe, from Germany to Spain, Portugal to Russia, Italy to France, protesters have been making their voices heard. Al Jazeera's Rory Challenge takes up the story from the Spanish capital, Madrid.
For a growing number of Spaniards, International Workers' Day now seems like a bit of a cruel joke. It's becoming increasingly difficult to actually find a worker here. Record numbers of people are jobless. Given Spain's eye-watering unemployment rate, 27.2%, you might expect the union's message to resonate more powerfully than ever. But in fact, this is one of the most poorly attended May Day rallies in years. It seems that people are losing faith that protests like this are actually making any sort of difference. The unions have been powerless to stop this country's precipitous economic slide. The people who did show up were putting a brave face on the low turnout.
Despite the bad weather being a public holiday and this political system and its brainwashing, it wasn't so bad. Taking into account those things, it went quite well.
Being aware of what's going on is difficult, and sometimes even though we know it, we don't want to admit it. Also, if you've got nothing, you're more scared to act.
Across indebted, recession-hit Europe, this traditional day of the left was being marked with strikes and marches. In France, with its still strong unions, in Russia, where communists dream of former glories, and in Athens, where Labour leaders railed against the austerity measures enforced by Greece's international creditors.
We are here to send a message to the government, to the Troika and to those in power in Europe, that we will continue our struggle against unfair, open-ended policies that are destroying millions of jobs on a national and European level.
Germany is considered the main instigator of Europe's austerity credo. In Berlin, protesters demanded a change in direction. Across much of the continent, jobs are disappearing, wages are falling, and living standards are on the slide. There's little for the European worker to cheer about in 2013. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera.
Presentes. Compañero, hermano,
brother, comrade, Nicolás Maduro Boros, today, on the 19th of April, in the presence of the memory of our liberator, Simón Bolívar, in the presence of the memory of our eternal commander, the commander Hugo Chávez, and in the presence of our brothers, the head of government, in the presence of the branches, the independent branches of government of this beautiful country, Venezuela, in the presence of the representatives in Congress, in the presence of the people on the streets, in the presence of the Bolivarian people, in the presence of the revolutionary people, and in the presence of our armed forces, do you swear to carry out this Constitution and the laws of the Republic of Venezuela, to work for the pursuit of happiness of our people, to continue to build on Bolivarian socialism, to continue the legacy of our comrade, Commander Hugo Chávez? Do you swear before the people and in the presence of our Lord that you will never fail in carrying this out and continue to work tirelessly until the people of Venezuela are truly free people, as reflected in the dream of our liberator Simón Bolívar and our commander Hugo Chávez? Do you swear? I swear before the Constitution approved by the people in 1999. I swear today, on the 19th of April, in following the legacy of our liberators, I swear before Christ the Redeemer, I swear on behalf of the people of Venezuela, and I swear on behalf of the memory, the eternal legacy of our Supreme Commander, that I will carry out this Constitution and the laws of the Republic as pertains to my position as President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, to continue to build on the pursuit of happiness, an independent socialist state for all. I swear, since we are sure that you will do this with the support and the eternal inspiration of our commander, with the support of our people. May God support you. You now are officially invested as the constitutionally elected president for the period 2013 to 2019 on behalf of this people, on behalf of our commander. So be it. We will now bestow the presidential sash and the collar of the liberator to Nicolás Maduro, the constitutional president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, that will be bestowed by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Representative Diosdado Cabello Rondón. I would like to invite a very special person to accompany me here to bestow the presidential sash on our comrade, Maria Gabriela Chavez. I will ask her to step up and accompany us to help in this task. The daughter of our commander, first Chavista president. We will now play the anthem of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Good afternoon to the entire Venezuelan people, to everyone, without exceptions. I begin my remarks by asking for God's blessing, the protection of Christ the Redeemer, and the blessings of our liberators and our Supreme Commander, who filled me with wisdom to know, to extend the hand to all the Venezuelan people to build a country based on peace, love, inclusive of all. That is how I'd like to begin today, April 19th, 2013. These words, expressed as constitutional president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, today we celebrate 203 years. We are now past the bicentennial of the expression of rebellion of the people of Caracas in Plaza Bolívar. There, the people of Caracas, which had already spent various decades in rebellion, and from that square in Caracas, Francisco de Miranda came out with his constant rebellion, traveling the world over to try to build that utopia of Greater Colombia. And from that square, today, known as Plaza Mayor, today Plaza Bolívar, also Simón Rodríguez, supporting the conspiracy to become independent from Spain. From that square, Simón Bolívar spent his young years. During that glorious square, we saw a whole brilliant and virtuous generation of liberators. And from that same square, we saw Andrés Bello come forth, a man of enlightenment in South America. 203 years ago, on a day like today, our people said, enough. This was the most important action that took place to try to establish, to break free of the bonds of colonialism imposed for hundreds of years, the bonds of colonialism imposed for hundreds of years, and that had held back our people. Today we want to remember that brilliant generation of liberators, Today, the 19th of April, we come to say that that independence movement that began back then, that struggle for dignity, begun by them to continue to build a nation, we follow through. It is the same struggle from that time. It's the same struggle, but we use different methods, working in democracy, with all of our people aware of our efforts. I want to convey my special greetings to the 61 official delegations that come here from throughout the world. I would like to thank the signs of support from the UN organization, from the Organization of American States, from UNASUR, from CELAC, from the ALBA organization, from Petrocaribe, from the movement of non-aligned countries, the 101 members who are going to be meeting here at a historic summit in 2015. We'll have all the heads of state, of governments of the 121 countries. And I want to express my appreciation for the efforts that were carried out by them, given the circumstances and the unique situation that we are currently experiencing. Because of these, as proposed by the Speaker of the Assembly 2 weeks ago, we said that if we win the elections, we would take the oath on our national day, April 19th. And here we are, April 19th, swearing before the Constitution and before of all of the people. Here we are. Many presidents among them, and we've had on several opportunities, we have President Correa call. Today he met with the Pope, Pope Francis, the first South American Pope in history. A special greeting. Nicolás, my name is Yendrik. Events, we see that security has completely failed here. I could have been shot. Security has failed. Secondly, comrade, despite all the proposals that he might bring about, objectively speaking, every citizen has to understand that this is an event that has its rules and must be respected. And I know our people understand that, the entire country understands that. So the incident is now behind us. We'll talk to this young man later. Who knows how desperate he might feel. What he's done was done wrongly, especially in this special protocol event. But two things we recall now. Security is one thing that is important. I have no problem. My life is at the service of this country. They have to take care of me one way or somehow. And secondly, our people must be disciplined for these kinds of events. We will discuss that with this citizen. Now, somebody said that this was part of a rally, a show, to perhaps call the attention of those people that weren't watching the event. People always make up stories regarding these things. I'd like to thank the 61 delegations who are present here from throughout the world. President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, we always have her providing her words of appreciation and support. Dilma Rousseff, Raúl Castro, Juan Manuel Santos, Dona Ramodar, the President of Haiti, Michel Martelly, the President of Honduras, Porfirio López, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, Ollanta Humala from Peru,